let's get into the Indianapolis Colts 7-round mock draft. But before we do that, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and smash that bell notification so you can get notified when Tyler and I post new content. We are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. So if you could help us reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated. So, Tyler, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. We both were very vocal in the early stages of the offseason before the league new year and before the Carolina Panthers were able to trade up to number 1, saying that the Colts, this is their time to strike. And they didn't end up making that trade. However, in this scenario, I actually really like how it worked out for them. So with that said, let's get it started. At number 4, who do we have the Indianapolis Colts taking?
Yeah, so the Indianapolis Colts end up taking the third quarterback off the board, AR-15, Anthony Richardson. He has definitely grown on me from the start of the offseason. I kind of just put him and Will Levis kind of in the same bubble, but then he's just so much more athletic than Will Levis. You know, Will Levis has Josh Allen traits, and Anthony Richardson seems like Cam Newton and LeBron James had a baby. You know, he's one of the best combine that we have seen, and he is a potential. I mean, we'll say. I mean, every draft pick is a potential bust opportunity. His floor might be a little bit lower than the other quarterbacks, but his ceiling, I think, is by far the highest. Yeah. We talked about it when his combine. They were doing just those go routes to end the quarterback night, and I think C.J. Stroud technically outthrew him by 2 yards, but C.J. Stroud looked like he was putting his whole weight into it. Anthony Richardson looked like he was just flicking the ball. Like he was just a smooth 60 yards, just right there. And it was very impressive to watch. Obviously have some growing to do, but they do have new head coach Shane Steichen. And if you look at what he did with Jalen Hurts and then kind of the build of Jalen Hurts as well, and by that I mean like really thick legs, really strong quarterback. Anthony Richardson is that same guy. He can just run you over, and would not be surprised if there's a similar type offense this year. And I would say, like, just start him from day one. You know, he's just going to have to learn, you know, and it's going to be tough at first, but I don't know who else they would start, to be honest. So,
I mean, I agree with that. I think sometimes you just have to let the rookie play and make those mistakes. However, with him, I don't think it would actually be the mental mistakes that would really cause him to stumble that much. He has fundamental throwing issues and footwork consistency issues that I think he actually needs to work with a professional quarterbacks coach and a NFL level offensive coordinator to really get his consistency honed in. And I think if you can do that, then bam, I mean, you have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And you saw it at the combine, his footwork, while it looked better than it did at Florida, he was still inconsistent. He was still spraying the ball all over the place. But raw talent wise, kind of what you said, he is Cam Newton's build with Lamar Jackson's speed and elusiveness with Patrick Mahomes' arm. Like it's, you see the potential there. And I like watching him throw that deep ball. Like you said, it literally looked like he was not even trying. And the ball is just soaring 60 yards.
It definitely, it's one of those, if he's there at 4 and then they pick the Colts and he doesn't work out, I don't think you fault them for it because it is the third quarterback off the board. It's one of the few. I mean, they have needs that we're going to address here, but it is, I think, the correct pick here. Not saying Will Levis is the bad pick, but I think Anthony Richardson is the better route to go.
No, yeah. And so speaking of addressing needs, let's go ahead and move on to pick 36. Also, if you notice, the pick numbers are off. The draft tool we used counted Miami's forfeited first-round pick and a couple others later on. So the numbers might be 1 or 2 off on the actual pick numbers. But at 36, we have the Colts selecting Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. The left tackle position has been a question mark for a couple years now in Indianapolis, and I think Anton Harrison could be the guy that could set all the worries to rest because he was a really solid left tackle, especially in pass protection sets. His biggest thing is he gets a little off balance, especially with power rushers. But I think at the NFL level, you can put a few more pounds on him. Technically, I think he's really sound. And with a little coaching up, I think he'll be able to handle that power a little bit better. So
yeah. I do feel like it's interesting, too, because in 2021, they had one of the best offensive lines in the entire league. And then such a big regression. They did have some injuries, I think. So making sure you just drafted your hopeful future franchise quarterback, you want to make sure that you have a strong offensive line in front of him. So going offensive tackle here to me is the best position. If a guard is available, maybe getting a guard as well, or a center. So, or Darnell Wright, I think would also be a good option. I believe he was still here
He
on
was
this
still on
board.
the board, yeah.
Yeah. So moving on though now to their next pick, they are picking at pick 80, and we have them going with safety Jordan Battle here. This I feel is addressing the secondary. Obviously, Stephen Gilmore is not there, and then also Rodney McLeod, and it was a free agent. I need to see if he has signed anywhere.
Rock Ya-Sin, is that who? Or no, he was already gone. He was with the Raiders, I think.
Yeah. Where is
Anyways, while you look that up,
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go ahead. And he's a solid player from Alabama, has a good football pedigree there. And I think he's just going to be a versatile player. He can play in the box over the slot receiver or in a too high system and kind of a shell coverage. And I think as he gets in the NFL, you could even possibly convert him into a single high or in a three high shell system. And so I like this pick, just a solid defender. This defense needs help not giving up big plays. And I think Jordan Battle could be a really good signing for them. So,
yeah. And so they have not also signed Rodney McLeod just yet. And so he's still a free agent as of right now. So I still just think getting depth at that position would be very important. So also with moving off from Stephon Gilmore, maybe they also go corner here as well to replace what Stephon Gilmore brought to the table. So moving on now to their next pick at pick 107, have them addressing the edge rusher position because they also have a couple of edge rushers as well that are on the free agency. They're still free agents as of right now. And so I'm going with KJ Henry, edge rusher from Clemson. Really like this guy. He has played in some big games, and I think he can bring a lot to the table, and he has a good pass rush as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a really versatile defensive end. I think he would be a really good complement to this defense with Yannick Ngakoue most likely leaving in free agency, if he hasn't signed anywhere already. I just think he's a good replacement. He has a good pass rushing grade, a good run grade, and I just like what he brings to the table as a 3-down edge player. So, and then next up with the Colts, pick 140. We have wide receiver Kayshon Boutte from LSU, a little bit of a controversial guy, but getting him here, I think in the 5th round, when he came out of high school, he was a top athlete. He was the top athlete in the whatever list that is. I forget the name of it, like the McDonald's All-American high school, whatever. He was the top athlete in there. He was ahead of Raheem Jarrett, another wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba, another wide receiver in that class, and then a few others. So from that raw talent perspective, I think it's really impressive. And I think you look at his 2021 season, and he had a really solid season there. And 2022 left a lot to be desired. He was on and off the field, and then he was going to go back to LSU, and then he decided that all of a sudden he was going to go to the NFL, and then it came out that he was kicked off the LSU football team. And so then he didn't perform too great at the combine physically, but he'd also been out of football for a long time due to some nagging injuries. So there's a lot of question marks with this guy. However, you do know that when he was at his best, he was one of the top wide receivers in college football. And to get that here in the 5th round, I think is good value.
Yeah. So we kept going back and forth. It felt like for 40 picks when doing this draft on when should we take this guy? Because at this point, the ceiling on it now, it would just be an absolute steal. So I feel like getting him here would be great to just add on to what is currently there in the receiving Colts, which I personally like. I mean, you have Michael Pittman as well. And so I think he would be a great addition to that room with huge upside potential. So let's move on to pick 164. We have the Colts addressing the cornerback position and with Nick Jones, cornerback from Ball State, staying inside Indiana to make this pick. So once again, as we already kind of addressed a little bit with Jordan Battle pick as well, Stephon Gilmore leaving, and I think this just adds more depth to that position since it has kind of been leaving. There's also been other cornerbacks too have left in free agency, such as Brandon Facyson.
I have no idea. I can't see
I
it.
can't. That one will be a Tyler can't pronounce name classic. So, but I just think just here you're looking for good players to help kind of maybe contribute from day one
Yeah.
or developmental guys, and I think that he would fit the bill here.
Yeah, and he was at the Shrine Bowl, and he played pretty well against a lot of the talent that was out there. And so I think taking a 5th-round flyer on a local kid from Ball State would be pretty good. And then next up, they do have pick 170 that they got in the Stephon Gilmore trade from the Cowboys. However, at that pick, we had Jake Hayner, and we don't really think that that would be a great fit. So we're just going to leave that spot kind of blank for your imagination. And let us know down in the comments who you think they should take at pick 170 if you have a late round guy that you really like for the Indianapolis Colts. And then last couple picks here, both in the 7th round. DJ Dale, defensive interior guy from Alabama. Really solid player. Was expected to come out last year and then ended up returning. But I want to say he was a four-year player, a 2 or 3 year starter at Alabama. So really good experience. Just I want to say 6'3", 315, solid guy. And then Jake Andrews, the interior offensive lineman from Troy, just adding depth there and just making sure you don't get in that situation that you did last year where your offensive line was so depleted that you had to switch up your play calling in its entirety. So all in all, I really like this draft for the Indianapolis Colts. Getting Anthony Richardson, addressing that left tackle spot, and then adding some really good talent pieces and taking a couple flyers on maybe some guys with off the field issues or guys from smaller schools that showed that they have the talent to play at the NFL, I think is a really good draft for them. So
no, Anthony Richardson and then getting Anton Harrison, I think are the two key pieces. When you're picking this early and you're getting good value guys early like that is key, obviously. So seeing if some of these other later guys, developmental pieces, can pan out and can see a lot of progress in their rookie season. So a lot of different ways that they can go. I feel like they can compete, but essentially, but then they're having a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback as well. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what type of year the Colts have and how they go after the draft.
Yeah.